what's interesting. I had someone on my show last night, and they say, that Rav Asher, he's intimidating. I don't know if I have the courage to get up on mic and ask him questions. I was like, you're the biggest putty cat I ever met, man. You're a lovable, adorable person.
Intimidating, yeah.
Yeah, intimidating. You're rough. But in real life, you are kind of. I mean, I do have to be honest. You got a big muscle. You got a little muscle mass to you, man. You can rough someone up, man. But only if you have to, right?
I hope my haters fear me. That's it. Yeah, I saw your homegirl called you out there, John. You saw that?
Oh yeah, I know. I'm always being called out.
Yeah,
there's always something I'm doing wrong.
And you drugged me along with you.
Did I bring? What happened with you?
Well, she said that she was going to unfriend me because I'm affiliated with you. She wasn't out there anyways, but I think because I'm conservative, it offended her, but it offended her more, whatever you said about Islam. Anyways.
So is that a right thing? I mean, okay, let's put it up here. Let's talk about it. What should be my approach? I mean, should I just allow for Islam and Muslims to do what they got to do and not ridicule them and criticize them? I mean, what should I do? Just lay over and bend over backwards for them?
I'm not sure what the whole thing was about. I think it was something about cartoons, or you drew
draw Muhammad. Yeah, draw Muhammad Day. Yeah. On the basis of free speech, that people are people are being murdered for drawing cartoons. I mean, where do we draw the line to that? I mean, I would rather be on the side of people having their free expression of drawing cartoons over censorship. Would that not be the right thing?
On one hand, I'm for sensitizing radical Islam. If it's sensitized, it won't be radical anymore. I guess radical Islam reformed is radical Islam no longer. But if for some reason someone just wanted to ridicule someone else's God, just stomp, I'm against that. And I'm against people making fun of Jesus and Christians. I mean, Christians are the sweetest people I've ever met. I think radical Muslims have it coming. I don't think it's a big issue.
I'll say here publicly, I mean, I don't want anyone to be unfriended or I'm not going to talk to that person because you talk to me. Look,
trust me, I'm sure my presence taints more in this room than a cartoon of Muhammad.
Which I don't understand. I don't get it. I mean, I watched the new Rabbi Reuven put out a new video, and it's like he's again promoting the
like
14,
a 2-year-old.
The 14 list of rabbis again. He's constantly on it.
People like this are going to do things like this. The thing that frustrates me is when I read the comments in those videos. Last I saw, there was 15 likes and 2 dislikes. His students were like, "Oh my God, thank you for this." They're so brainwashed. And I just want people to compare the fans of Yaron Reuven and the fans of Asher Meza. It's 2 different types. I think the people who enjoy my videos are very decent people who are hungry for ethics and morality in a chaotic world. And for some reason, I don't think that the average Mizrahi fan or Yaron Reuven fan cares. They just want to be scared into believing, and that's not what I bring to the table. And it's not really who brings who to Torah. But if you come to Torah under the wrong auspices, that's going to determine how long you remain religious. And on your way out, how you're going to make our religion look to everyone else you confront. So sometimes it's better not to come to Torah if you're going to come under the wrong auspices and create a bigger Hillel Hashem than if you would have stayed a irreligious individual. It's not just about keeping mitzvot. It's about desecrating God's name and making Judaism and our religion look ridiculous. There's many people who come to Judaism for a year and they will hop into the most radical movements within Orthodoxy and just drop it, and then try to talk other people into being irreligious. So they burn themselves out by specifically choosing bad leaders, and then they bring the whole religion down with them when they leave. If we're not here to make each other better people, then what's the point of this all? And heck, if we wanted to join a gang, there's many other gangs that have a lot of more benefits than just becoming Jewish. That'll make you more money, and if you're a male, will get you more of the opposite sex. We're here because we're trying to be better people. And if your teacher doesn't promote that, clearly someone who bad mouths other people without at least talking to them. I understand, look, the Torah itself separates. The issue is not separating. It's unjustly separating, not giving someone the benefit of the doubt, the notion of being dan de chav zchut. Before I would call anybody out, I try to talk to them. Let's have a dialogue respectfully. People know that I don't insult people. I don't yell at them when I have discussions with them. And that's what he should do with all these people. And I think that may be the reason he doesn't put me up there, because he knows I've been trying to debate him for the last 3 years. All these other guys don't debate or I don't know what their reason for not saying what I'm saying tonight. Why doesn't Rabbi Slifkin, why doesn't Rav Dror, Rav Manis Friedman say, let's have a public discussion? I don't know. But that's what I have been saying, and that's what I'll continue to say with anyone who I happen to disagree with. Now, the funny thing about it is that these are all Torah-keeping individuals. We're not dealing with murderers, rapists, child molesters here. These are people who keep halakha to the same extent that I'm sure that Rabbi Mizrahi and Rabbi Yaron Rubin keep halakha, and they only differ on chidushim, on personal philosophical outlooks, on hashkafa. On the basis of that, you're going to make a whole video saying that these people are going to lead you to Gehenna and that they desecrate God's name. I mean, if these people are desecrating God's name, then what about the major Averas? What about people who actually do bad? It means nothing, right? If Manis Friedman is evil, then evil doesn't mean anything. And it shows how broken their moral compass really is, to waste your time on people who just happen to peddle a different ideology, the same religion, the same Torah, just a different ideology. It shows these guys haven't been religious long enough, or may only hang out with one particular type of person. For example, living in Eretz Israel, these guys live in America, but I don't think they were religious in Israel for a long time because they're Baal Teshuvos themselves. But you're forced to daven with people from different groups who have different ideologies. Do you really know what all these different groups believe? From Nanox to Satmar to Bobov, Sfardim, Bukharin. Some of them have beliefs that I definitely consider wacky, but I still embrace them like my brothers just because we have Torah in common. So how can you get along? How can you get along with the vast majority of Torah Jews if you're going to throw people under the bus just because they happen to disagree with the way you happen to teach hashkafa? Philosophy. It has nothing to do with Torah. This is why it's just upsetting to see the people who support these guys blindly. And it's just, these are guys that if they don't drop them, I'm going to have to debate them later on. And it's fine. But I think that they're not going to remain religious too long.
Well, when I first started going to shul, like what is it, like 5-6 years now, and I showed up. And I was like an open book. I wanted to know the truth. I wanted to know what was going on. I wanted to know what Judaism was all about, what Torah was all about. And it seemed like, maybe you can help me understand this, but it didn't seem like the people there were open to, learning and teaching. I would show up to every morning after daven. The daven in the morning, right? 7 to 8 was davening. And then 8 to 9, they learned a little Torah. They sat down, we sat down with the ref. And that was pretty much it. We read from a book. And then I would ask questions, honest questions. And it didn't seem like even the people around me didn't really want to ask questions or anything other than what we learned. Like, they didn't want to dive deeper into that. Is that normal, Rav? Is that like what that is? Like the rabbi he just reads from a book just for an hour. They give a shiur, and that's it. People just go home and accept that's just the way it is. Like, I always wanted to know more. Like, hey, look, let's sit down for another hour. Let's learn some more. It's like, we got other things to do. No questions. Doesn't need to go farther than that. I just always felt like that was always weird to me, that was the way it was in a shul.
I think that we make more out of religion than what's actually there. And this is really because of social media and technology. I'm sure 100 years ago, people were just happy being a Jew specifically, but a good American, a good Pole, a good German, a good Austrian. This whole thing that religion is supposed to encompass your life is not what we see in Torah. It seems that your job is to leave the world a little better than you found it, and to enjoy life and be a good husband and be a good father and do all that under the auspices of Torah. But Torah itself is not so all-encompassing in everything you do. Now, it seems like that nowadays, but if one only went by the Chumash and the Mishnah, it seems like you would have a lot more time to do other things, even proselytize. This is why historians teach that Jews actually used to proselytize, because if you don't feel that every minute of the day you have to be absorbing Torah, you're able to come to a point where you can package what you believe and give it over to someone else and say, you know what, this is doable. I mean, this is what the Torah says, that one shouldn't say that the Torah is up in heaven to say who could do it. But the way Torah is presented nowadays, it's like, who can do it? It'll drive you nuts. It'll make you obsessive and compulsive regarding anything of God and religion. And it seems like undoable, to the point that they discourage people from converting because they're like, this is a serious commitment, but it seems that for the Israelites, it wasn't that serious. It was, yes, acknowledge 6 days of creation, 1 day of rest, the exodus from Egypt, and these commandments, these ethical commandments that I'm giving you today. And that's it. And walk in these ways. But now it's like you have to divorce yourself from reality and live like a hermit to please God. And I think it's unhealthy. And this is why you have so many Jews leaving Judaism. I'm not against people taking on more. The Torah has a place for those people. The whole notion of a Nazir, of a Nazirite, is someone who has an urge to be more ascetic than most. Yes, it makes you bring a korban. The rabbis debate on why someone has to bring a sacrifice in that case. But it seems that there's a status for those who want to do more in the Torah. But now it's become the norm. Now, like, you're not striving to be one of the Prushim, people who separate themselves from the community, then you're not pleasing God and you're desecrating the Torah. I think that we have to start with the 5 books of Moses and just go through it without a commentary and see what God expected from them. And God expects the same from them that he expects from us now. So that's my point.
So I might have came off, would you say, maybe a little wackadoo, a little mashugana, just showing up.
Well, you're expecting too much.
I'm a goy. I came out of nowhere. Hey, I want to sit down and learn Torah all day. What is this guy talking about? We got things to do here today. So I might have came off a little rough, you're saying.
You have to understand it. These guys go to shul every day. The average Orthodox Jew goes to shul every day. This is a lifestyle for them. A Gentile coming off the street wanting to be mesmerized, like all the very charismatic YouTube rabbis that we see out there. Rabbi Mizrahi is very charismatic. I think Yaron Reuven also speaks very well. But that's not what you're going to find in your local synagogue. These people go to shul every day. They daven every day. And the vast majority of people there already know Torah. So they just want a little reminder of what they've probably been studying since they were a kid. And they just want to go home. And that's it. And I think that's a healthy approach. But someone who's new to religion, they're like, well, they never want to leave the shul. And they're wondering why people aren't swinging from the chandeliers because, oh, it's so great to be Jewish. Only about Shuvas talk like that. Only converts talk like that. It's not a bad thing. It's beautiful to have that feeling. We have to understand that the ideal is to raise a family where your kids grew up in this. And they don't have to be as enthusiastic as a newcomer is to learn Torah because they live Torah. So that's the difference between fanaticism and just being a real ben Torah, that everything you say has been washed in Torah. Your mind has been washed in Torah. You don't have to constantly add extra things to your davening and wear a black hat and grow a long beard. All these guys are a bunch of Baal-Teshuvas in the vast majority of cases, especially if they're claiming to be a rabbinic Jew. You don't need to have a long beard, al-pi halacha. You don't need to have payas. You don't even need to wear a kippah. This is why all these guys, I mean, think about it. Social media rabbis, they're all Baal-Teshuvas, and they're Baal-Teshuvas of less than 8 years. This is why they look like freaks, okay? This is why they got the Gandalf hat and all that stuff. Let's be normal, guys. But you know what? I fell into the same rut. I became religious. I converted around 22 years ago. And then I made Aliyah, and I lived in a religious yeshuv, and I had long peyot, and I had a beard, and this and that. And I understand that wasn't necessary, but I was very excited. But at the same time, I'm not going to make fun of someone like they make fun of me now because I happen to wear a baseball cap, because I'm like somewhat clean shaven. Don't forget, back in the 60s, I mean, heck, 100 years ago, in yeshivas, Volozhin, Slobodka, the Bachrim never had beards. They never had beards. The Rosh Yeshiva would make them not shave, but they would use facial hair remover. This is a new thing. The only person who wore a black hat in the yeshiva was the Rosh Yeshiva. The only person who wore a coat, a kapata, was the Rosh Yeshiva. The students weren't even allowed to wear their tzitziot outside. They were forced to tuck it in. And now it's a new world. Now, like you're, especially like in these Balchuva yeshivas in Israel, and everyone has a beard. I mean, you know, everyone tries to look like the Rebbe. Back in the 50s, who looked like the Rebbe? You know, it's because of affluence and boredom that we don't have real evil to fight, so we have to manufacture one. But you know what? I think people 200 years ago knew how to enjoy life more. They took their wife out for, I don't know, a piece of cake and coffee instead of saying, no, I got to study Torah all day long. I got to study Torah all day long. This is a new thing. Back then, people had to work for a living. The understanding is that after World War II, Rav Arn Kotler got all the heads together of the Orthodox world and started this whole Kollel yeshiva movement to be thrust on every religious Jew. But in Europe, it wasn't like this. Like, people didn't learn all day. Yes, you learned till you got married. But that was pretty young, especially Per Kavod. It shows you that in the time of the Mishnah, they told you what a man's life should revolve around. And it's not Torah studying all the time. There's even a time to learn a trade, and then you get married. And this notion of learning day, night in yeshiva, to be honest, does appear in the Mishnah, but it states that the way you differentiate a big city from a small city is that a big city has 10 people learning full time in it. But they're not learning for the sake of learning, which is what's done nowadays. They're there because it's a large city. There are 10 guys who are basically equipping everyone and reminding them of what the halach is. It's not what's done nowadays that you have people just sending their wives to work and they learn all day, which is what happens in the Litvish world. It doesn't happen so much in the Hasidic world. It's funny. I mean, Litvaks claim to be a little more rational than Hasidim, but Hasidim actually work for a living. But anyways, let's take questions.